this will eventually crash so badly for you if you don't understand why you're doing it. Are you doing it for fun, or are you doing it to prove a point to someone? Are you doing it the right way, or are you doing it just for the sake of doing it because everyone's doing it, so let me do it? That's a herd mentality. The first thing I really watch people when they're running is observing their lower limbs, from the hip to the knee to the ankle. If their knees are overworking, they're eventually going to end up getting a lot of shin pain. If their ankles are really stiff, you can tell from the way their foot takes off and lands. So please note, don't always blame your shoes or the surface when you get shin pain, but also think of the mechanics of your body. I think there were two American friends who kind of built this whole concept of Hyrox. I think it's great. I love it. Well, Hyrox, if I say it in very simple terms, is just you putting yourself through the line to feel this rush of lactic acid going through your brain. That's what Hyrox is in simple, right? Let's see in the next 3 to 4 years how many people will be able to carry this buzz on. Let me ask you a question now, because as a layman, how did you come to this term that I want to do this?
Hello everyone, my name is Jagati Chaudhary. I'm from Skin Yoga. My guest today is a national level track athlete, Aisha Bilamoria. She is one of the most knowledgeable running coach and movement coach in India. It's her mission to actually teach people how the human body actually works. Aisha, thank you so much for coming on our podcast and for sharing your wisdom. I have trained with you, so I know how deep your knowledge about running is. We are also live on our Instagram today. So our viewers, if you have any questions regarding running, the techniques, Hyrox, or whatever workout you're doing, you can ask us here and we'll try and answer those questions towards the end of our podcast. So Aisha, tell us, what do you do and why do you do what you do?
Firstly, hi everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure. What I do? Well, I run myself. I run for India now. I'm an Asian Games silver and bronze medalist, and I'm also an athletics coach. I coach children. I think that's where my passion really lies. I also coach adults like yourself. I want to just basically spread the knowledge of running right, making sure that people don't make the mistakes that I made as a young girl. So I think that's really important for me as a coach, and for someone who really believes that training should be done the right way so that you can not get injured or not hurt yourself in the future.
Yeah. So if someone has never run a day in their life, can they just walk out of the door and start jogging?
Well, I think everybody is born to run. That's the beauty about running, right? That everyone can run. Unless, of course, somebody has a condition and cannot run. That's a different story. But everyone can run. And how I tell people to generally start running is that start slow. Don't try to go on your very first day to run a 1K or a 2K if you have never experienced what it is like to kind of go out and run so much. So take baby steps, do interval training, walk, jog, do some stretches, even in the middle if you can. And most importantly, get help from a coach. Like I stress on this a lot because as an athlete, I have seen for years and years what good coaching can actually do to a person. So it's really important that people, when we say invest in your health, this is what we mean by invest in your health, that reach out to experts, not just a running coach, but be it a nutritionist or be it a doctor or be it a physiotherapist, right? Go to experts who can guide you to do the right thing rather than you trying to be the expert all the time.
Right. I've never heard of somebody teaching running, to be honest. So when I first found you, I'm like, what? Running also
requires
coached?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what are some usual mistakes that you find people do while they're running?
Yeah, well, this question is really good because there were times where I used to be mocked by a lot of people and they would ask me, like, what's there to learn in running? Everyone can run. Yeah. And I'm always of the opinion that there are two sides to the same coin, right? Everybody does know how to run, but also everybody runs with really poor posture. And for me, that's where coming to teach how to run comes into play. The first thing I really watch people when they're running is observing their lower limbs, from the hip to the knee to the ankle. If their knees are overworking, they're eventually going to end up getting a lot of shin pain. If their ankles are really stiff, you can tell from the way their foot takes off and lands. If their ankles are really stiff, they're going to get shin pain. So please note, don't always blame your shoes or the surface when you get shin pain, but also think of the mechanics of your body, which is your ankle, your knee, and your hip. If these three are not working well together, you're going to get shin splints. This is the most common running injury that everybody is getting, right? And they're not aware why they're getting it. So they're very quick to blame the shoe. They're very quick to blame the surface, right? And I'm not saying that road running will not damage your joints, but they take years and years to kind of, the wear and tear is over years, right? So that's one of the things I observe quickly. Second is watching somebody's neck when they're running, watching their shoulders. A lot of people run with very rounded shoulders. They run with their fist close to their chest. So of course, everybody has a very unique style of running, but when you break down posture and mechanics of someone, to that person individually, for example, you or me, individual people, you first need to just observe how their posture is working for them. Because for someone like Michael Johnson, right, he ran with a posture. Michael Johnson is an American athlete who made the world record in the 400 meters. He had a very stiff and tight posture, but yet he could run 43 seconds in a 400 meters. So it's very individualistic how you train and what works for you in that moment in time. But when posture gets better, obviously your body flies better. So there are many nuances to correcting posture, and there are many micro things that I generally observe when somebody is running. I could even just observe somebody's wrist and tell you why you have that shoulder pain, right? So that's how deep running mechanics are. And it's not just science. Of course, running is a lot of science, but this is not just science. It's also visually, I have studied it for years and years now to observe how people run, why the postural imbalance is causing more injuries to people. So it's something to think about. People should read. You know, there's a lot of good information out there today in books, not the internet, in books. If you read well, you'll understand the mechanics of our body are so simple, but people just complicate it by saying big words, but not knowing the real meaning of what those big words actually can do to your body.
Wow, this is amazing. This is going amazing, guys. We're going to continue the podcast and we're going to stop the live now. But if you have any questions, do DM us and we'll try and answer them. Thank you for joining us. And this podcast is going to go live very soon and we'll keep you posted. Now, everyone talks about training for a marathon. What actually is a marathon and how much time does an average person, like myself probably, need to prepare for something that massive?
A marathon is a very big distance. First, let me say something that a lot of people may not like. People often refer to a 10 kilometers race as a marathon. People often refer to a 21 kilometers as a marathon. You need to know that a marathon distance is 42.2, I think. Please don't attack me if I'm wrong. Either it's 42.1 or 42.2. That's a full marathon distance. Typically, I would train someone for a full year before they would actually go out and run a good race. For me, being an athlete first and then a coach, there are two things that I learned. That if you're not training well, you're not ready to race. As a coach, if I haven't trained you well, you're not ready to race, right? So running is not just about, oh, I can do it. Of course you can do it, but are you going to do it well? So my coach instincts are always that when my athletes get onto the field, it could be for anything. It could be high rocks, half, full, 5K. It could be an ultra. It could just be an athletics meet. If you're not doing your foundational work, and it's one full year of just foundational work, your second year, you just learn how to start running for a marathon or training for a marathon. Ideally, it's after 2 years when I would actually like to want someone to run a full marathon. But yeah, people today are just very quick to get into anything. And the thing is, it's great that people are coming out to run. People are moving. I think that is a positive side towards the fitness boom that our country has suddenly seen. But there are also repercussions to not doing it correctly. And I think people don't want to be told those repercussions, because everything is about, oh, but I can do it, but I can do it. But if he can do it, I can do it. And if she can do it, I can do it. But as we grow older, I think we need to be wiser, more intelligent. The fact that our bodies are not 20 anymore, you need to respect that if I'm going to be running a marathon in my 40s or 50s, I need good foundational work. I need good skill work. I need good technique. I need proper strength. If I don't have all these variables in place, then what am I going to do when I go out and run, right? Am I just running for a bunch of photographs or just to get that medal? I mean, that is also a high for a lot of people. So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But always think longevity versus quick fix, quick excitement, quick, what's the word I'm looking for?
Gratification.
Gratification, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about. Like,
Yeah. When we start running, our lungs burn and our legs
they don't.
ache.
No, they don't.
Normal people, almost immediately. Almost immediately for normal people. It's not normal.
I don't even know how that feels. I don't know how to answer that question.
So, when I ran last time with you, I couldn't breathe and my legs were hurting.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it normal or no? It's not normal.
Well, how do I explain this? When a person has never run
Yeah.
and you start running in adulthood, of course, your body reacts differently. Now, the reason why I don't have a very solid answer to that is because I don't know how it feels to be in that space, right?
Okay.
I started running when I was very young. I was 9-10 years old when I started running. And when you're young, you don't think all these things, right? As we grow older, our mind is always in overdrive.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that the times when I used to get injured and I used to have a lot of gap between my injury period and restarting training, yeah, coming back was a little harder. But for me, again, I don't think the body that much as my mind needs to overcome something. So for me, I do respect people who go through these emotions. Their lungs are struggling, of course, because you've never run before. So you're gasping for air, right? Your legs have never done that sort of motion or movement.
Yeah.
So they're suddenly feeling like a shock of what have you put me through, right? It's like a baby suddenly coming out of the womb and it cries that where am I?
Yeah.
So that's exactly how your body also reacts to something new. So that's the simplest kind of explanation I can think of.
No,
for how
thank
people
you. Thank you
feel.
for being so honest.
Yeah.
And, maybe it's better to understand that you have to take it slow.
Definitely.
And all of a sudden, you can't just go out.
No, I think the best way to do anything gradually,
Yeah.
to do anything well, you have to do it gradually, right? We started crawling, then we started holding things and finding our ways. Our motor skills got better. We started then getting on our feet. Then we started walking. Then we started running. So if you think of how we've physiologically grown, the same thing applies for everything we do in our life, even today. If you're not going to start slow and build up, then your base of your pyramid is just going to collapse.
True. When people finish a run, their muscles feel stiff. Is it because of something called lactic acid? What is lactic acid and how do we, release that?
I don't know the exact definition of lactic acid, but I can tell you from exactly how I feel as a 400-meter runner, because that is the moment where lactic just hits your brain.
Okay.
Right? There is nothing that compares that lactic acid burn to what you would do in any race. So that burn is basically just a lot of the fluid that gets accumulated between your muscles. And that's what lactic acid eventually does. It starts building fatigue into your body. So when we say lactic acid buildup, it's over time. So when I'm running at top speed, by the time I reach the last 100 meters, the lactic has filled up so much because of the frequency of movement that I have created in my stride length.
Okay.
Lactic acid over endurance running builds up slowly. So that's why you feel that slow burn towards the end of your race or for the last 4 or 5 or 2 kilometers. The best way to flush it out is to get a lot of massages, to get into the sea or the ocean, because the salt kind of has a great way of healing the lactic acid. And of course, eating well, making sure your hydration is extremely good. More than just hydration, having the right amount of sodium in your body. That is what keeps your cramps, your lactic, well, I'm not going to say at bay because we're all going to go through it at some point. But I think that's something that really kind of helps it helps you control it or helps you kind of build the threshold to bearing it. Yeah, but lactic is something I'll say personally is what I live for.
Oh.
I mean, I run the 400 purely for lactic.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. This shows your passion for running, which is great. But tell us what do you mean by sodium? Is that just pure salt? Is it pink salt? Is it the new electrolytes, that's taken over all our gym bags? What
Yeah.
is it?
Electrolytes are definitely something that I highly recommend. Your electrolytes need to have magnesium, iron, and sodium in it. All three kind of combine into one good electrolyte powder or packet. Over and above that, with my kids, with my students, I highly recommend them to have nariyal pani because, again, high in potassium. It's just got everything in. Nariyal pani is just like the best. It's like an apple or it's like an egg, right? It's a combination of many of your vitamins in it already. And then limbu pani.
Okay.
That's again great vitamin C with salt and sugar. That's great. I mean, not a lot of sugar, but sometimes sugar kind of breaks that saltiness. So I think these are extremely essential for our body because we're sweating a lot. And when we're breaking out sweats, you're losing energy. When you're losing energy, you need to replenish it. So that's just how simple the process is. Water is, of course, the base of everything. I'm not going to say don't have water. Have lots of water. But with that lots of water, also have electrolytes that kind of help you replenish the sweat that you have kind of burnt out.
Got it. If somebody doesn't have access to electrolytes, is there a drink that they can make in their bottle and take with them, which will work equally well?
Limbu pani. The best and the most natural. Nothing beats limbu pani.
Yeah, so you mean salt?
Sugar, a little bit of sugar, salt, and your limbu.
Lemon.
Yeah. Natural vitamin C, extremely refreshing.
Yeah.
It will not spike your insulin. It will not do anything fancy, crazy to your body. It will actually kind of hydrate you better. So yeah. I always say natural first.
Yeah.
Any supplementation later. Exactly. That goes for food as well. That goes for hydration as well.
Yeah. So also our idea at Skin Yoga is not to just abandon each and every product, but the thought process that goes into if today I buy an electrolyte or if today I buy a product that has just the natural ingredients, it's a habit that I'm inculcating.
That's right.
To buy packaged things.
Exactly.
Once I start making things at home, that's the mindset. Like, I'm going to make it at home and I'll know what I put into it.
But also back in the day, people were making it in their homes.
Yeah.
Today, everything is readily available. I mean, that's how plastic consumption has also gone up, right? So it's a huge kind of, I would say, marketing, mass production.
Yeah.
But people were also creating their own stuff back in the day, be it the food, be it your face paste or anything.
Okay, for someone training for a big run, what should they actually eat before the run, and what should they eat or consume right after the run?
This is again very individualistic, person to person. How you define a big run is also kind of a very large statement.
Like something that,
No, but it means like you could be doing, say, a 13 kilometers. Yeah. For me, a big run could be like 400 meters into 8 fast pace, right?
Yes.
So what happens in these two separate kind of distances of training or big runs is that you're going to be in a high endurance run. So your glycogen is obviously going to be depleting much faster, which means you need to pack yourself with a lot of carbs before your run. And a lot of people can't eat early in the morning. So, either you can have just like a slice of bread with peanut butter or almond butter on it, or you can have nuts. Nuts are great because almonds, walnuts, pistachio, all these kind of release energy slowly into your body so you can sustain that energy as you're running over endurance. For someone like me, example, or a sprinter, if they're going to be doing 400 meters repetitions into 8, you're going at a fast pace. So obviously your glycogen is depleting very quickly at a much faster rate compared to what an endurance runner is going through. So obviously I'm going to be having things like khajur, dates, you're going to have bananas on you. I'm not a big fan of gels at all. I do not recommend gels to absolutely anybody. If you hear this, don't attack me, but I think gels are just a great marketing gimmick. Eat well, eat your foods well, have your solid foods, have your liquids. That's what really kind of gives you energy, to run. or to do any kind of physical aggressive activity, including something like high rocks,
Yeah.
So yeah, post-workout for me has always been protein. In fact, personally for me, protein has also been a very good source of pre-workout, especially when I've been doing short distance running. It kind of, I made this transition about 4 years ago, and I have actually seen my performance getting better. And I have to thank my cousin Kaivan, who actually guided me on this, because everybody is typically telling you to eat carbs before a run. But he said, because you're into short sprints, your burst of energy needs to be quick. So you need to have good amounts of fat in your body and protein for you to be able to produce that kind of energy.
Okay.
You're not going to be running 800, 1500, 3000 meters that you need sustained energy. You need
Right.
quick, fast energy.
Okay.
So that's when I made the transitioning to having my protein as a pre-meal also, and as a post-meal. Of course, I have my protein powders. I'm making sure that I'm eating a good 5 to 6 eggs a day. Well, not on a daily basis, but when I do, I eat a good 5, 6 eggs. I have my cheese. I'll make sure I have my fruits. So everything is just really going in: your fiber, your fat, your protein, your carbs. All of it is kind of, getting mixed in. But a standard post-workout meal is always going to be protein.
Okay.
And for endurance runners, of course, a standard pre-workout will always be carbohydrates, because you need that energy to kind of take you over a long period of time.
Great. Does it remain the same for high rocks?
Well, high rocks is actually, yes, you need a lot of carbohydrates for that, but you also need proteins. I mean, proteins are your building blocks, right?
Mhm.
You have wear and tear in your body, and if you're not going to have the right kind of protein, obviously your recovery is going to be much longer. If you're not having magnesium, we're always only talking about foods, but having supplements like magnesium, iron, again, sodium, having your vitamin Bs, your D3s, all these are extremely important when you're doing any sport or playing any event where your time on ground is going to be very long. For example, a minimum time for high rocks, a maximum time for high rocks anybody would take, say example, 2 hours, right? So you're pounding your body on the floor for 2 hours. Your energy systems are just really working at a very fast pace, right? So you need to be eating well to be able to produce results. And then obviously your output shows everything: your
Yeah.
training, your recovery, your sleep, your hydration, your food. All of it is a huge part of
True.
what you eventually do on race day.
True. Okay. Now tell us, there are many types of proteins in the market: rice protein, pea protein, whey protein, etc., etc.
Tried all of it.
Yeah. So great. Now that you've tried all of it, could you tell us what is the best protein one should go for?
Many years ago, and don't quote me on this, please, but many years ago, I remember someone telling me that having high amounts of whey protein can eventually put a lot of load on your kidneys. I don't know how much science there is to that. So I'm not claiming anything, but of course, this was more hearsay. I had a very severe allergy to soy lecithin
Okay.
almost 11 years ago. This was probably around the time when I started this whole Instagram Fit Girl India page. And I was consuming a particular whey protein powder, which I didn't know was having a reaction on me. And over time, that reaction became so severe that I basically had blood boils on around all my lymphatic drainage areas here at the bottom. And it became really serious. Till we actually went to an Ayurvedic doctor, and she said, you are allergic to this thing called soy lecithin. So we didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
So she asked me, are you consuming whey protein powder? And I said, yes, like a lot of it. She said, you need to stop that immediately. So that was for me just a big eye opener of, it was individually not working for me. People still consuming whey today, and they should if it's working for them.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad in any way.
Yeah.
And I don't see any truth in the whole kidneys taking the load, because for years and years, people have had whey protein, and I think they're doing fine. It's just that everybody reacts to it differently.
It's good to know that it may or may not suit you. So
That's
be
right.
careful about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Okay.
And test it. Again, because there are so many products in the market today, I in particular am extremely careful with what protein powders I promote. I will test them on myself for at least...
Which one do you consume for yourself?
Well, I'll tell you, over time, I have consumed Unived. I've consumed Fasten Up. I have consumed Ace Blend. I have consumed Wellbeing Nutrition. I am now consuming Shift. I've been doing a collaboration with Shift. And I can tell you all the 5 are actually amazing,
Okay.
really amazing. They work for me.
Okay.
Some of them may not work for you,
Yeah.
right? So when I was promoting Fasten Up, I mean, I love Fasten Up. I'm never going to lie. I've had a great relationship with the brand since the time they came into the market 10 years ago. And their products have worked very well for me. And it didn't work for a lot of people, Lots of people complained of bloating issues and, I feel acidic. And so I'm like, each to your own.
Yeah.
Find something that works for
Right.
you, So there are so many products in the market. You need to read the label.
Yeah.
Extremely important. While you may not have the best knowledge, even what's on the label, ask the company.
Okay.
Today, people have easy access to reaching out to these companies via Instagram, email, on their websites. They have feedback, So it's really important to know what you put into your gut. And that goes for any supplement, really, not just protein powders, but be it your creatine or be it your vitamin tablets, right? Again, dime a dozen off the counter, you can get multivitamins. So which is really good for you, which is not good for you. I think that research is very important for people to do. And I also believe people like myself play a huge role in influencing people, influencing the audience. That I know people who have just consumed protein powders the day I have promoted it. And I keep telling myself that is the power of influence you have on people. So make sure it is good. Make sure that you are being honest about what you're promoting and not just doing it,
Good karma.
Yeah, exactly. Not just out there because you have to make money off it. Money also comes with accountability, So it's very important how you put your products out there. It's not just me, it's also the brands, of course. But yeah, it's very important that people educate themselves.
Okay, can you tell us, some people might be consuming protein for the first time. What are the signs to look for to know if something is sitting well with your body or not?
I think the common signs that people feel immediately if a protein powder is not working for them is their gut will just feel heavy. It will feel heavy, it will feel bloaty, you might feel like you want to throw up. For me, touch wood, so far, all these brands that I have consumed, I have not felt like that at all. If I know that the content of protein in, say, X protein powder is very high, I'll make sure I reduce the scoop to half, because then your gut at the end is very small. We just keep eating. Yeah, we dump it like some garbage bag. But when protein goes into your body, it needs time to digest. It needs time to process, to break down into your muscles and your fibers and all of that. So it's something that you have to be smart of how much you consume. Don't just, one scoop. But what if one scoop is not working for you? Maybe you need a quarter of a scoop or a half or a 3/4. So let your own body kind of decide how much you can consume. Yeah, 2-3 times you could have a hit and miss, but you'll know these signs immediately if you're having a bloaty stomach, or if you're feeling nauseous or vomity, or if you immediately run to the bathroom, either you get, loose motions or something. People know that, okay, this has triggered my gut to kind of not accept.
And then you try something else, or you have it in a smaller quantity first?
You have it in a smaller quantity, yeah. Okay. Again, the thing is the availability of these products is so vast today that people always want to keep jumping protein to protein. I'm saying stick with one thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to be having Shift, I want to have it for the next 1-2 years. When I had Fasten Up, I almost had Fasten Up for 3 full years. Even before we signed, I was consuming Fasten Up. So for me, the conditioning of that powder with my gut became very solid, And now, after a long, in fact, there are times where I won't have protein powders at all. Okay. I love my natural proteins. I love my eggs. I love my chicken, my fish, my meats. I'm a Parsi, so I will eat every meat on this earth. So for me, eating my natural food is a lot more efficient and healthy for me than constantly consuming supplements. But when I'm in full-on training, my creatines, my collagen, my protein powder, all are very high, like on the top of my diet list, with my food as well. Yeah.
Okay. I hear a lot of runners talking about mobility training, talking about strength training. When running, there's a mindset. When running is about moving your feet, why do we need to do mobility and strength?
Yoga is a way of life, right? We move because that's how our bodies were designed to move. Now, suddenly this surge of, let's do mobility, let's do flexibility, let's, what's the other word you said?
Strength.
Strength training. But this has been part of our culture for
Thousands of years.
eons. Yeah, exactly. So why are we suddenly waking up and saying, oh, let's do this, when this has been a part of our culture? This is what helped us move better. This is what helped us sleep better. This is what kept our digestion going well, right? When you sit in a garland pose, your digestion, the Indian toilet,
Yeah.
right? So we didn't even realize that our whole life we were doing these movements, but they actually came from yoga, right? And now we've named them as mobility, strength, calisthenics, whatever, you know.
True.
But it's an ancient wisdom, it's ancient art for us. And
Repackaged for the new gen.
sorry to say, but repackaged by the West and brought back here to make more money off us. But we have what it takes to be extremely mobile, flexible,
Yeah.
strong,
Yeah.
you know. So, yeah, I mean, it's part of your daily life. And if you're not doing it on a daily basis, that's why you then need to go to a class to learn it.
Yeah.
But actually, the conditioning of your body, think of your movements of when you were younger, right? You sat, watch your children, right? If you see them sitting in a Indian toilet style, the natural, look at their hips, right? But why have we lost our hip mobility?
Not practice.
No,
Chairs.
driving,
Yeah.
sitting on these fancy chairs that, you know,
All
they're
day
sitting on
office.
all day office.
Yeah.
Exactly. So think of how we have changed over years, over decades. And now we're going back to our roots thinking that, oh, let's do that. But it was always part
a
of our
part.
culture. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, especially Indian culture.
Yeah. So if you want to be better at running or high rocks or anything, get yoga back into your life.
Always.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think yoga should be
Mandatory.
a mandatory part of school.
I agree.
An absolute compulsion. Please remove PT from schools.
Yeah.
Physical training will not be valued enough if kids don't understand movement of their body.
Right.
If they don't understand the importance of flexibility, the importance of the connect of the body with the ground, right? If they don't understand breath, you're putting them into a physical activity without them understanding anything basic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if schools cannot start yoga, even now, I mean, Modi ji has started a whole yoga day. I mean, that's amazing to celebrate one day, to have a day to celebrate yoga. But why can't the system or the government create this practice in every school in India and make it compulsory, be it your IB schools, American schools, ICSE schools, SSC schools, government schools. This is our base foundation of getting fit.
Absolutely.
But we're looking to get fit in every other way where we'll have to spend tens and thousands of rupees.
I think yoga needs to come from Justin Bieber. Once he starts doing it, all the kids will start doing it, and then we'll have it in our schools. So I think request Modi ji could not do what Justin Bieber probably can. Okay, so there's a huge global fitness trend going on right now, which is high rocks, for which even I have fallen for. For those who do not know what high rocks is, could you explain that?
Well, high rocks, if I say it in very simple terms, is just you putting yourself through the line to feel this rush of lactic acid going through your brain. That's what high rocks is in simple, right? But if we break it down to explain to people what high rocks really is, it's basically strength, endurance, speed, endurance, and endurance, right? Of course, you need to have a lot of technique with the stations and with running, but it's basically 1 kilometer of running, one station, 1 kilometer of running, one station, 8 times back to back. Great concept. I think whoever brought this, I think there were 2 American friends who kind of built this whole concept of high rocks. I think it's great. I love it. But I don't think I see myself doing it long term. It's a great sport. People should do it wisely. People should train for it smartly. I'm not going to say it's for everyone. I don't think it's for everyone. But right now, the buzz is so high, I think, because the hype of, you know, how they marketed this entire thing, I think, give them 100 on 100 for their marketing. I think that's what really hypes people up to do it. But let's see in the next 3 to 4 years how many people will be able to carry this buzz on. It's physically extremely demanding to
Yes.
continue doing this kind of training. You do have to train really hard. I'm not saying you can't do it or it's
Yeah.
impossible,
Yeah.
but you need to be an athlete of a certain level if you want to do it well. Again, that's just my mindset as a coach and athlete, that I won't get into something
Yeah.
if I can't do it well. Like, I don't do something for the sake of doing it, you know?
You want to be the best at it.
No,
You
more
wanna
than
do it
just
well.
the best, you should be able to do it well. You should be injury free, number one.
Mm.
You should enjoy the process of it,
True.
right? Because again, if somebody is not used to bearing the lactic acid in their body, then this is a real shock you're giving your body, right? So you need to be able to do that. You should be enjoying endurance running, right? You should have good skill work for you to be able to get through those stations, again, being injury free.
Right.
So you need to have many variables in place before you do it. And not just do it because, hey, let's do it because the hype is great and my friends are doing it, so I'll also do it. I mean, lots of people are doing that. You know it, I know it. I encounter these kind of people every day in my career. I get people writing to me on Instagram. People who never run a 10K in their life have suddenly come out to do high rocks. So again, there's each to their own. I'm one of those
Learn
people.
from your own mistakes.
No, more than, let people learn.
Or maybe
from their
you'll
own
find a new
mistakes.
you.
Can be both. Again, I'm saying there are so many pros and
True.
cons to it, right? Like, you can't pinpoint one thing and say, oh, this
Yeah.
is bad. I don't think anything is bad.
Yeah.
Everything comes around in our realm to kind of teach us something. It could be a lesson. It could be a hobby. It could be a passion, right? So, I mean, what am I doing with my running? I'm 40 years old. I'm still doing the same grind. Why? Because this is where I find my comfort. This is where I find my happiness. Maybe high rocks will be that for someone, right? They may not be out there for the numbers or the times. But yeah, it's
the
great.
process.
I do love what High Rocks brings to the table. I think I'm one of those who looks at any kind of sport in a very positive way. I don't like to diss any sport off. I don't like to say that, oh no, this sport is bad, because every sport teaches you a lesson. Coordination, skill work, endurance, mind, every sport will challenge you in a way that will make you a better person. So yeah, that's what.
A lot of people talk to you about not doing high rocks or no, don't do high rocks, Is it because of the injury that it may bring to you if your form isn't right? What is it that, some people are absolutely against high rocks?
There are two kinds of people. A, the ones who are looking out for you. Probably they've gotten injured, so they're passing their fear on to you. Okay, positive and negative to that again. Secondly, I always say that when you do something as intensive or crazy as high rocks, you need to have some level of fitness before going into it. You should be able to do certain things like deep squats, deep weighted squats. You need to be able to run a reasonably good 5K. I'm not saying it has to be fast. You need to be able to do lunges comfortably. You need to be able to kind of throw your body forward and back in flexion, extension, right? I'm not saying be a gymnast again, but there are certain movements that your body should have before you decide to do something as intensive or aggressive as high rocks. Reason being that if you have never had that kind of, again, mobility, flexibility, endurance running or strength, then your body is suddenly going through a shock. And that shock puts you back 10 steps and you'll be like, oh my God, why did I sign up for this? Or did I do the right thing by signing up? So that self-doubt starts again, right? Then that doubt creates fear. So the reason why the people who are already telling you don't do it are the ones who probably didn't do it well, and they're putting their fear into you. It may not be your experience. Right? So it's again two sides to the same coin, the good and the not so good. You have to just kind of find your own feet and grounding on it. And most important, just enjoy it. When even the people who are saying, oh yeah, it's great, I loved it, but it was so hard. But did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the process of it? Because everything today has suddenly become so competitive that people are forgetting the joy.
In the process.
And I think that's what I love about running. Running brings joy. Joy to your lungs, joy to your stomach, joy to your brain, joy to your skin. It brings joy to all your muscles. And that's the beauty about sport. It should be about just being joyful and having fun while you're at it.
No, true. To be honest, I have not run, like a 5K or 10K. I've played a lot of sports. So my understanding of sports is like you enjoy doing something, there's some goal to achieve, running and high rocks is very different.
Yeah.
It's like pushing yourself
Absolutely.
to see like how far can you take your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
But I do believe that form is extremely important,
Yeah.
because if you get the form wrong, your lower back is gone, your
Everything.
ankle, knee,
No, everything.
like,
everything.
break.
It starts with your neck, it goes downhill.
So the last time I did a bit of high rocks workout, not even like
Like a small simulation.
not even a simulation. I just think like couple of
stations.
stations. I couldn't get up the next 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And that taught me that along with high rocks, it's the nutrition also that I need to look into, which has to be very different from my usual, lunch, dinner, etc.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of, for me, I look at it positively, that it's teaching me how
Some
to
discipline.
Yeah.
Mm.
change or
Yeah.
alter according to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm not 18 anymore.
Yeah.
So accordingly, you have to change.
Adapt.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question now, because as a say layman who has signed up for High Rocks, why did you sign up for a event like High Rocks? Now, see, High Rocks is one event.
Yeah.
There's Yodha race, and then there are these other really intensive CrossFit games, right? There are big races in the world which are as intensive as High Rocks. But as a layman, how did you come to this term that I want to do this? Because it's very important for your audience to also understand what is it that drives people to do this.
Okay.
Right? My drive to do it is very different. And for me, my High Rocks is extremely to deal with my fear, biggest fear of running endurance. And I absolutely hate it. Right? And everybody who knows me knows that. And they were like, you signed up for High Rocks again. I'm like, yeah, because before I turn 40, I have to get this out of my system that I don't like endurance running, right?
Yeah.
And even though I'm a seasoned fit person, I still have to train for it.
Right.
So this was my goal to come. What was your goal to come into High Rocks? Why did you choose to do?
Sure. So I'll tell you. First of all, the other races that you mentioned did not come on my Instagram feed. So I don't know if they exist or not. When I saw High Rocks, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I can look into it. I know a few friends who have already done High Rocks previously. So this is like kind of a known territory. I'm like, okay, this can be done. It's achievable. It's not only for like the pro athletes. Thirdly, I enjoy doing the stations. I think I have good form because I've worked out all my life.
Okay.
I'm very good with squats, lunges. I enjoy doing those. And I think my form, I've never gotten injured, touch wood.
Yeah.
With those, because like my coaches in my life, they've always trained me with forms.
Very good.
The last thing, the running. I hate running. I'm like, I had decided long back I'll do anything, but I will not run without any reason. I just feel like funny when I see people just running on the road. Like,
I also find that very funny. Should not be saying that out loud because I'll be the one running on the road next week.
So I'm like, I wanted to break that block in my head and say that, okay, I can run. It's not something that is not achievable.
Unachievable, yeah.
Same as you.
Yeah.
I hate running. I don't think if somebody has had to ask me to run without a reason, I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, but you're an absolute non-runner.
Yeah.
So for you, this challenge is 10x more compared to someone who still runs but has to do endurance running.
Yeah. Okay. So, so these reasons, I'm like, I want to challenge myself and I want to do it. And I've been playing paddle every day since the last 2 years, of 2 hours every day of paddle.
Nice.
So I know that I have the stamina. Probably I just need to channel it, differently.
Paddle stamina doesn't count for this.
Yeah.
No. Being honest, I'm not trying to be I'm not criticizing.
Yeah.
Very, very honestly,
Yeah,
the court is so small, right?
Yeah.
Your cardiovascular movement within that space is not as
intense.
Much.
I know.
Not just intense. It's not as much as what you would put out in a run or in a tennis, right? Tennis, you're running back and forth sideways a lot. It's a bigger court, right?
True.
So, while paddle is a great sport, again, I feel like you can't compare that I have cardio here so I can do a High Rocks. That's kind of...
But that's what I did. So
that's what motivated you. Well, it's okay. I think you're going to be great.
Yeah.
I don't think you should stress. You have me for it. So you have to come for the classes though.
Yeah,
don't miss those. Be consistent.
Yeah.
Again, anybody who's training for their first High Rocks or for their first marathon or their first race, just be consistent with your training. That is the key to getting through your race day. Make sure you always finish your workouts before you walk out of the field or the gym. Don't leave your workouts empty or half done, because the minute you start forming that habit, you will have the exact same habit when you go into your race. And I used to do that a lot.
Interesting.
I would, if I had 6 400s, I would do 3 and 4.5, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so tired, I won't do it today. When I would be in a race, by the time I would reach the 250, 300 meter mark, I would just switch off.
Oh,
Because that's what I used to do in my training.
absolutely.
Yeah. So you see how your training trickles into your
True.
competition eventually. So
Right.
always complete your workouts, consistently do them. Of course, listen to your coaches. Coaches are there to guide you for a reason.
Yeah.
And just kind of enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Most important.
Yeah, sure. Okay, now let's talk about kids. At what age is it safe for a child to start learning how to run properly?
More than right age, I think children generally process any form of education from the age of 9 or 10.
Okay.
Before that, their mind is just learning the basics of either your alphabets, your numbers, basic sentences. So to try to throw any kind of jargon in their face with running or any of the mechanical stuff or structured things don't work with children. I don't even teach that kind of stuff to my 12-year-olds.
Okay.
I make it more play and fun for them. So
Right.
they realize, and I talk simpler language for them, like think of your knee coming in line with your ankle, think of your toes pointing towards the sky.
Yeah.
Those kind of breakdowns you give children so that they don't feel overwhelmed. And also they don't understand, they don't understand flexion, they don't understand extension.
Yeah.
What is she saying? Force into the ground. What do you mean by force into the ground?
Yeah.
You speak that language to adults, right? Because you have a better kind of mind to process those words or those sentences or that kind of
I understand.
understanding.
Yeah.
So yeah, with children, you kind of, it's more play, but play in a way where they're still doing that activity, but for them, it's just having fun.
Understood. Okay. What happens to a child's mindset and body when parents or coaches put too much pressure on them? Like, you have to win, like, you have to do better.
They give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen many kids give up.
Okay.
That's as simple as it.
What is the best way to keep the kids excited?
I would say today's day and age, keep your parents away from your children.
What?
On the field.
Oh, really?
Let your kid just go out and have fun.
Okay.
I sit in the stands in every race in the last 2 years. I can only feel pressure. Imagine, I come from a space where, as a teenager, when we used to sit at the stands at university, we almost forgot that we were there for a race because we were having so much fun just meeting our friends from different districts and schools and colleges.
Yeah.
We would forget we were there for a race.
Yeah.
Then they would make the first call and they'd be like, oh, under 16 first. And we were like, cha, let's all go together.
Oh,
right?
wow.
We were a bunch of 7 girls who were great friends. We were running the same race. I come first, someone comes second, third, fourth. Right? Walk out of the race, we're friends again.
Yeah.
But today it's all about, look, that person, she has run XYZ time. You have to really beat that time. I can rarely hear parents saying, just go out and give your best, have fun. Everything is like gun. The watch, the time, push, pump your arms harder. Oh no, you ruined it already for that child.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about my coaching. Like, I want to be really proud and say this. I love how I coach my kids because I build resilience in them, power, strength, enjoyment, and speed. When you have all of these, they'll just learn to keep loving their running. But the minute they think timing, form, the form part is left to me. They don't even know I'm working on their form, right? That is my skill that I worked through the year. They don't even know. I don't want them talking about form. I don't want them talking about timing. I don't want them talking about who's faster than me. That girl is faster. Constantly, I hear parents talking about, that girl from Mumbai suburb city, her timing was so and so. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear me talking about timings? Do you ever even hear me asking you, what did that girl run? I don't care. As long as my child ran her best or his best on that day, to me, that child is a winner.
Amazing.
And that child is building its personality every single day
Amazing.
by also learning how to lose. Because if they don't learn how to lose, how will they ever go out in life and learn to fight a good fight?
Absolutely.
Right? So my words to my children always is, give a good fight on the track. Make sure you don't let your opponent win easily.
Yeah.
Don't give up because someone went ahead of you. fight till the end. You can come 7th, 8th, or 10th, I don't care.
Yeah.
But make sure it's a good fight so that you walk out feeling proud
Proud.
that
of
I
yourself.
worked hard for this, and I feel great. In the next one, I'll do better.
Yeah.
That is the mindset you want to have. I'm not going to say my parents had this mindset. No,
Yeah.
I built this mindset through some of the amazing coaches I had. My parents, again, they said nothing to me. They were just having a great time themselves. My
Yeah.
father was extremely motivating. He would always tell me, just come first, and he would never say it in a pressured way.
Yeah. Enjoyment.
And because we were always coming first,
Yeah.
it was like a thing to say, come first, okay? Come first. And he knew I was going to come first. So it was a different vibe, but there was never any pressure to win. And Savio sir, one of my best coaches, he would always tell us, just have fun. These words will never leave my mind. Relax your arms and just have fun. These are golden words from a golden coach. Nobody has ever told me this in my years of training in Australia, America, Ethiopia. No coach has ever told me, just have fun and relax your arms,
Yeah.
So that stayed with me from the time I was 12 years old. Now I'm 39.
Wow.
That's the same legacy I want to pass on, Savio sir's legacy pass on to the next generation.
Amazing. Superb. Now finish the sentence, for our audience.
Pressure.
Chasing a perfect fitness goal or a race milestone without patience and proper technique is?
I always say when the herd follows the herd, they fall into a ditch.
Okay.
You didn't get it.
No, I did. I do. So if you follow the herd, you're gonna fall with the herd. So
Exactly.
Stop the herd.
Yeah. In the simpler way of saying that is when a donkey follows a donkey, it becomes a donkey.
Right,
Simple.
right.
And that is, we can say this out loud. This is what our country is at this place right now as we sit here. We are a herd mentality community.
True.
My friends are doing this. This is achievable. I can do it. Do you really want to do it is the question. Are you running because you like running or do you want to run? You'll never see me playing any other sport. Why do I not play another sport? Because I'm not driven by what other people tell me to do. Oh, you should play a racket sport, your coordination will get better. Hey, I can do 100 things beyond holding a racket sport that'll improve my coordination. I don't have to do something because the cult said I have to do it.
No, of course no. But why not enjoy something?
You can enjoy it, but enjoy it.
Yeah,
Don't make it
Not a
competitive.
social thing that because
Do not
somebody
make
else
it
is doing
competitive.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So this was actually said to me by my coach in Australia, Gavin, who was again extremely in my face and made me realize a huge part of what I was doing. I was part of this herd. So I'm not saying I was any different. But when I went there and I saw myself as a third person looking at my own country, and I thought to myself, wow, we're really in the dumps. And back then running was not so big in India.
Yeah, no,
The trends of things have now become huge in our country, but the trend is really scary. And nobody is taking kind of cognizance to the fact that this will eventually crash so badly for you if you don't understand why you're doing it. Are you doing it for fun or are you doing it to prove a point to someone? Are you doing it the right way or are you doing it just for the sake of doing it because everyone's doing it, so let me do it? That's a herd mentality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can see it everywhere now, more and more, especially with Hyrox coming in. It is just a mountain of,
Yeah. Yeah.
So people need to be smart. People need to be intelligent. I think we have a lot of intelligence in our country. They just need to kind of open their own eyes and say, hey, I want to do this for myself, or I don't want to do this. I don't need to run because 10 of my friends are running every Sunday morning. I hate running.
Yeah.
Say it out loud. Nobody's going to judge you.
Yeah.
And if they judge you, they're not your friends. Simple as that, So I'm just saying, nobody should judge you for not doing something.
Of course.
But the pressure that people have is that if you're doing it, I have to do it because Jagriti is my oldest friend.
Oh.
By the way, none of my school friends run.
Oh.
All my girlfriends from school, nobody runs. Girls, you all better start running. None of my girlfriends run, okay? But I have never forced anyone. And they've never said, oh, if Aisha's running, so well, let me also start running.
Yeah.
Each to their own. They wanted to do different
But running
things,
is also very difficult.
Running is the most exhilarating emotion that you will give your body. Or endorphins that your body will feel. I don't think anything beats running. Everybody should run. We are all born to run, literally.
Wow. I've yet to experience that feeling, but I can't wait.
You have come to the right hands,
Yeah.
my friend.
I'm glad. But thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for
for
having me.
sharing
Thanks for
everything
having
so openly. It was lovely having you on.
Thank you. I had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you.